Hey, fifth graders. Today we're going to be doing a small review on metaphor. Metaphors are far more challenging to write than similes are, so we're just going to practice a little bit more today. So our learning targets are to be able to define and understand what a metaphor is, and to be able to write an effective metaphor. So today we're going to have some more practice writing metaphors. So that you're well versed before we start writing our own poems. Before we get started here, I want to do a little bit of review. So let's think back to last Friday. What is a simile? You can pause your video here if you need to remember what a simile is. So you'll remember that a simile is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things using like or as. Like or as are our two magic words here for similes. So if we look at this example, she was as sly as a fox. What two things are being compared here? Or what are we comparing her to? She. Well, we're comparing her to a fox. Is she actually a fox? Of course not. But when we say that she is as sly as a fox, she's as sneaky as a fox, it creates a vivid image in our reader's mind that she's sneaking around just like a fox would. In our second example, he eats like a pig. What two things are being compared? What two unlike things? Well, we're comparing him to a pig, right? We're comparing the way that he eats to a pig. Is he actually a pig when he's eating? Does he transform into a pig? Of course not. But when we say that he eats like a pig, it gives us a vivid image of somebody who's eating very quickly, probably messily, and it creates a more vivid image in our reader's mind. So we're comparing two unlike things using either as or like. That's a simile, like or as. Burn that into your brain. Tattoo it there. Next, what is a metaphor? How is a metaphor different from a simile? Well, a metaphor is a figure of speech that is used to make a comparison between two things, just like a simile, that aren't alike, but do have something in common. Now, a metaphor does not use like or as. It is illegal to use like or as when you're writing metaphors. If you do, we're going to throw you into figurative language prison. So let's look at these examples down here. She was a sly fox as she crept through the building. What two things are being compared here? So again, she is being compared to a sly fox as she creeps through the building. We're not saying she is as sly as a fox, like as we did in the last page here, as sly as a fox. With a metaphor, we're just saying that one thing is another thing, right? She's not as sly as a fox. She's not like a fox. She just is a sly fox. She was a sly fox as she crept through the building. No like or as, but we're still comparing two things. Okay. Our second example. He is a pig when he eats. What two things are being compared? He, again, is being compared to a pig, but this time we're not saying that he's like a pig when he eats. We're just saying he's a pig when he eats. Is he actually a pig? No. But it creates a vivid image in our reader's mind to say that he is a pig. Now, yesterday we asked you to write a metaphor using this image here. So you had to latch on to one aspect of this picture and compare it to something else in order to create a more vivid description. So here are just a few student examples that came out of this yesterday. that are just great examples of how to write a metaphor. In fall, the trees rained rainbows of fire. Now, are the trees actually raining? Is there fire coming out of the trees? Absolutely not, of course, but I love this image that this is creating, that the trees are raining rainbows of fire. You can imagine trees on fire with color. That's exactly what this looks like. Here's another. The beautiful leaves on the tree are fiery flares from the sun. Are they actually from the sun? No. But when we compare these red and yellow leaves to fiery flares from the sun, it creates a really vivid image in our head. And remember, we're not saying that the leaves are like fiery flares from the sun, because that would be illegal, right? That would be a simile. We're just saying that they are fiery flares from the sun. Next. The trees are a mosaic of color. Do you know what a mosaic is? A mosaic is one of those pictures that use small pieces of either tile or glass to create a larger picture. So here are some examples of mosaics. Is this picture actually of a mosaic? No. But to describe it as a mosaic of color helps us really visualize what's going on here. One last metaphor. In fall, the trees were skittles that had fallen out from the bag. Are these trees actually Skittles? Of course not. But Skittles are many different colors, right? Just like these trees are. So when we compare the trees to Skittles and we say that they are Skittles, it creates a very vivid image in our reader's mind. So we are going to practice just a little bit more with writing metaphors here. So let's take a look at this image of Damian Lillard dunking. And I had to use this image, right? Because, well, Dame is one of my favorite players and I'm missing basketball right now. We would typically be rolling into playoff season here. But let's look at this image and think about what we can compare Damian Lillard to in order to create a more vivid description of this image. So I'm thinking, well, what else flies through the air? What else is graceful? What else jumps really high? And we want to compare him to something that is different enough that it creates a good picture in our reader's mind. And so if I were to say that Damian Lillard is as graceful as a football player, well, those aren't really two unlike things. Those are both two athletes. So that's kind of boring, but if I were to describe Damian Lillard as a jet plane taking off in flight, that would be interesting, right? I could compare Damian Lillard to an airplane. So here, where I have to write my own metaphor of this image, I might say Damian Lillard is a jet plane as he takes off through the air. Now notice I didn't say that Damian Lillard is like a jet plane or he flies as high as a jet plane, because like and as are illegal. I'm just saying he is a jet plane. Is he actually? No, but when I describe him as one, it creates a really descriptive picture for our reader. So at this point, I'd like you to pause your video and scroll down to the image and write your own metaphor to describe Damian Lillard. And your description might need a little bit of elaborating, right? I didn't just say Damian Lillard is a jet plane, although we could probably understand what was meant by that. But I said he's a jet plane as he takes off through the air. So you may need to explain a little bit what's going on. So if you just said Damian Lillard is a fork, right? Because you're comparing two different things in order to create a better description. Well, I'm going to look at this image and I'm going to say, okay, why is he a fork? So it has to make sense, right? So he's flying through the air just like a jet plane. So I'm going to stick with that as he takes off through the air. Pause your video and write your metaphor for Damian Lillard. Now that you've written your metaphor to describe the basketball player Damian Lillard, we're going to give this one more bit of practice here and describe this image. So what in this image can you latch onto and compare to something else that will create a vivid description in your reader's mind? So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a lot of really bright colors. It's fairly similar to the image that we saw yesterday, actually. So again, a good way to start out is to think about this in terms of a simile. So I might say that the autumn leaves were like a firework display, right? They're bursting with color. But remember, the word like is illegal. So instead of saying that it's like a firework display, I'm just going to say that it is a firework display. So in my answer, I'm going to say that in autumn, the leaves became a fireworks display of color. So what can you compare this image to that will create a more vivid description in your reader's mind?